Hi friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, hi, I'm Lena from Love Me and Crochet, and welcome to Fiction and Fiber Fridays. Okay, Fiction and Fiber Fridays is a time where we get cozy, we bring out our yarn, we crochet, and then we yap about the latest book I read. So today's book is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. So before we start with that, let's talk about the project. So today I am working on another scrunchie, just a small simple crochet, something I like to do when I'm reading or if I'm filming. It's just a fun little crochet project. And I finished my bandana that I was working on in a different video, and every time I make a new bandana I like to make a scrunchie to go with it. Like, I just like to match my scrunchie with my bandana, so now is the time for me to make my scrunchie. So that's what I'm doing in this video. Today I am using my trusty 4.5mm clover hook, and I'm using the same yarn that I used to make this headband, which is the Red Heart Granny all-in-one square in the colors black, carnation, coat. So if you're ready like I'm ready, let's dive in. Okay, so let's get into the summary of the book. All right, so we have a woman named Ava Mercy. She is a very popular author. She is well known for a series she began writing as a teenager, and it has carried her throughout her life as she has grown up. She has a daughter, she was married, now divorced, and she makes a living pretty much off this book series. She wants to do other work, she wants to grow as an author, but she is in a contract where she has to basically finish this series or finish out the contract. So she has to finish like a set amount of books within that series for the company that she works with. We learn about her daughter, who she is, and their relationship, and just how she came to where she is now. The changes, or the big bang in the story, is when she is, well, brought in front of her first love, when she was like talking to a group of people who were her fans, and it was a lot of authors who came together for this, I wouldn't say TED Talk, but just like this panel, and he ended up showing up, which is something he usually wouldn't do because he's not the type of person to do that. And so she is shocked, and it begins this whirlwind of them getting, I wouldn't say getting back together, but kind of like them rekindling this relationship they had back in the day. And his name is Shane Hall. And within this story we also get to learn more about Shane Hall as well in the story, because we get to see both perspectives and we get to see them come together. We also get to see how the relationship affects her daughter. We also get to see how their love story even came about, like how they even met, what caused them to be together. It kind of flips from past and present a lot. So as we go through things, and as the reader, as we ask those questions, we are taken back to the past, and a lot of those questions get answered. It's a pretty cool read. It is written by a Black author, and the characters are African American in this book. So it goes into a lot of African American experiences and pro-black language, if you will. As well, the authors are pro-black, and they talk about building each other up. The daughter is very adamant about this. She is one to help those around her, and she's very young as well. So without giving too much into the book, it's basically two authors who come together that wrote a book about each other, got famous off those books, and rekindled their love story like 15 years later after they broke up. So that is the summary of this story. All right, so how did I come across this book? What made me pick it up? I saw this book in a bookstore and I read the back and I found it to be quite interesting. I think the book was on sale, but of course, if you know, I do audiobooks because I like to crochet and read at the same time. So I read the back, I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I went on Libby, clicked the button, placed it on hold, got it, read it. It was a pretty quick read and I found it quite interesting. As far as my favorite characters go, I will say it's the daughter. Her daughter is my favorite character just because she is so funny and you can really see how much she cares about her mom, but also how proud she is of her mom as well. You can see her activism and where she get that from. It just tells you more about the main character, in wanting her daughter to only see the best of her and her family, and what she created in that was a very smart, intelligent, very vocal and independent young lady. And it just shows like when you put in that effort into your kids, or you give your kids that strength that was never poured into you, but the strength you learned, this is a product that you get in return from that effort. And I just think like as a mom, the main character had to be like very proud of her daughter, even though her daughter did things that she probably shouldn't have done. It's just like you can see from her past and the choices she made why she chose to teach her daughter a certain way and what came out of it. But all in all, her daughter is funny. Like, I thought she was hilarious, and I felt like the daughter, like how the daughter was portrayed was so realistic in terms of how kids feel when it comes to their parents and the things that their parents do. I think that sometimes as adults we get caught up in like our lives and we do put a lot of ourselves into our kids, but your kid is watching everything you do, and it's just a fun, interesting thing. Mind you, I don't have any kids. I'm just speaking from like working with children and stuff like that. So yeah. Alright, so my overall thoughts was that I felt like the story was quite interesting. I wouldn't say it was like a slow burn. It was pretty much like a rekindling. I loved the setting of the book and the build-up from the past of the main character, and the way they took on their tragedy and built from it was just so like empowering. I would say they had like the lack of assurance because of their past, but the maturity of the characters itself made Black love look less harsh than what the Black community is used to seeing like in normal media. And it was really refreshing to see. Like, I feel like it was a refreshing take on taking tragedy and making better decisions for ourselves without losing the traditional Black experience. And it was a lot of take on or showing of like breaking generational curses and like seeing more love in like that mother-daughter relationship, or like the building of family and trust, and just to see like them talk or be able to discuss their feelings in like a mature way. Even the mom and the daughter and the woman and the male, and they were hurt, they were sad, but they were able to voice those things in order to get closure for them to move on. And even when things was too much and painful, like they didn't take on the toxic approach of like, well, I'm in love with you, so I'm gonna stay here, but was like, I'm so in love with you that when space is needed, I'm gonna give us space. And then when we're ready for this, if we're ever ready in this lifetime, you know, then we can try again. And I just really loved seeing that, because sadly enough, like in a lot of media, when it comes to the Black experience, it's just like a lot of negative points, and seeing how some things tear down, seeing how things just like turn left, right? Like somebody end up on drugs, or somebody end up in just a horrible situation. But this book was like, they're educated, they're writers, they're talented, they're in love, they are emotionally mature, they are in the process of healing themselves, they may have family issues, but they have used like different forms of therapy to help themselves navigate those type of situations, and learned how to heal from it themselves so that they don't pass it on to the next generation, while still empowering the next generation and knowing who they are without taking that experience from them completely. I mean, it's just so wonderful. And I just really love reading something like that. Just me personally, because a lot of media I tend to see is more so like the tragedy of the Black family. And, you know, it'd be too much for me. So, yeah, and I know it's probably way more books just like this. I just had never come across it. So for me to come across a book like this, and it was a quick read, really refreshing, really light in my opinion. Like, devastating things happened, but it wasn't so heavy, right? Like, because we seen a solution throughout the book, and it was just, for me, it was refreshing. So it wasn't necessarily a slow burn, but it was something that was like really cute, really quick. It wasn't a long book at all. So with that, I rated this book a 7 out of 10. I know that number sounds shocking, because now that I think about it, I'm like, dang, I rated this book a 7 out of 10. But I did. I think I have my reasons for it. I just rated it a 7 out of 10. That's where we're gonna leave it. I rated it a 7 out of 10. I still really enjoyed the book. It was a really nice, quick read, like I said before. And I definitely recommend everybody to go read it. It was pretty fun. If you are sensitive to certain terms, just be wary of that, because it's in the books. So, you know, if you want to check it out and see what terms you are uncomfortable with, please look at that before you go read the book. So that's my warning. But other than that, I feel like there's not really many triggers in this book. It's only a few, like drugs and so on, a certain language. But outside of that, I think it's a really good, refreshing, quick read. And if you are part of the Black community, definitely recommend it. Support the author. All right, and that is my review of 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I have finished my scrunchie so I can match my bandana. I love it. As always, I am so appreciative to you watching this video. Let me know in the comments if you read this book and your thoughts, or if you have any book recommendations for me to read while I crochet next. If you enjoy this type of content, this cozy combo of crocheting and yapping about books, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing and clicking that notification bell so that you can get a notification every single time I upload. And with that, you beautiful people, I will see you in the next one.